Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Got a great topic today we're going to be sharing with you. One of my favorites actually of all time. And by the way, my name is Warren Stokes. I'm the Director of Sales for Ovidian Technologies. And the topic today is how to structure and interpret your CRM data. Now, whether you're an existing client of ours or just looking at profit as a potential CRM solution, actually all these concepts that I'm going to share today will apply to any CRM solution, because at the core of all CRMs is, you guessed it, data. So just a 15 seconds of background here. So our company produces a very unique type of CRM. It's embedded in Outlook. We've actually been marketing it since 2002 very successfully. It's mostly known for ease of use, great support, stuff like that. But I've had quite a few years, actually more than 15 years of sales management and CRM experience, helped close to 1,000 companies grow their business with profit. I hold a couple of US patents, have another one pending in this area. Have quite a bit of viewership on YouTube. I think it's just surprising to me how many people are interested in this topic. And my favorite way of putting it is CRM would be easy, except for one thing: data. So let me give you some concepts here, and some of this was developed by our CEO, but it's all about data. CRM really relies on data for sure. You probably already know that. But data is just raw information. And so you need to start applying different ways to organize that data and format it so that it becomes more useful, and you can get, actually business knowledge from it. And I'm going to give you some very specific examples of how to do all this. But from that knowledge, you start to gain insight. And perhaps one of the most important things is to gain actionable insight. So all of this is really about starting with data, but it really has to do with how to run your business more effectively. I mean, how do you make a data-driven decision without good data, right? So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is how to get that good data. And I'm just going to skim through some of these topics in the slide deck, and I'll spend most of our time actually showing you how to do all these things. But one of the key things is, why are we talking about data? Because at the end of the day, it's going to help you answer a lot of key questions, like how many new contacts were created, how many new leads or opportunities were generated, which of your people generated the most or the least activity, which clients had the most or least activity. Maybe you want to start looking at some underserved clients, which is one of the data points. How long is your sales cycle? Maybe you know that, but with a solution like Profit, you will certainly gain a better understanding of that. What's your forecast? That's going to be key to running your business. What are your lead conversion rates? What are they by industry, by lead source, by sales rep? Very insightful stuff that you start to get with good data. How many activities does it take to close the deal? This relates to one of my other topics of creating automated follow-up, like drip campaigns and sales automation, so that you can start matching the number of activities that it takes to close any particular deal. And I do post all of these webinars on our website. You can go, and I'll post my contact information at the end of the program here. You can ask questions as we go here. There's a chat control. I can't promise I'll get to all of them during the call, but you can always, when I post my contact info, just grab my email address. I'm very reachable. But how much revenue do you have, in your pipeline? This is all the front end stuff. Key concepts. What is actionable insight? Well, it's information that you can get that you can actually do something with. What is data taxonomy? We're going to get pretty deep into that. Oh, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? Data taxonomy. In fact, what the heck is taxonomy? Well, it's a term that describes the classification of data, so that you can categorize and classify and slice and dice data. That's a big topic today. But another key concept is starting to think of data as what kind of data you absolutely must have. And you guys need to talk about this amongst yourselves. What do you absolutely need to have a good record, a contact, a company opportunity? We're going to get into that more. What should you have if you can get it, and what would simply be nice to have? All right, so you kind of organize your thinking in terms of data collection and what you really, starting with what you must have. And I'm going to be talking a lot about best practices for structuring the data so that it can be useful in a CRM. Some very hands-on stuff here in a moment. But our goal and our role is to help you make it easy to get the data in and out, for that matter. In is inputting of data, importing, data entry, that sort of thing. Integrations and output are the reports of various types that we're going to cover. Very important concept of data is preventing duplicate data to begin with. And if you happen to get duplicate data, which drives people crazy, how to clean it up. A very old but true concept is you can't manage what you can't measure. So this is all going to help you start running your business more effectively. And I call it the what and the so what. The what is the data. The so what is what you're going to do with it. What kind of decisions you're going to make. What kind of initiatives are you going to start or kill. And a very key concept on the output of data is inspect what you expect. And it helps definitely to set some expectations. Let's talk a little bit about data structure before we dive into the actual program and do the live demonstration. It starts here. Now, this is not specific to Profit necessarily. Profit CRM is our software that many of you already use, but it has three types of data, generically speaking. Company data, and that will have associated contacts. We have a very powerful parent-child relationship. It's actually a multi-tier function. If you don't know much about that or you need training on that, just shout out and let us know. Super good for visibility and data relationships and any associated opportunities. Now, I use the term opportunity by default, but you could call it a project, since Profit is customizable and CRMs have different terminology. But you could call an opportunity a project, a lead. You can have different types of records like customer service cases and so on. But companies is one of the main entities, we call them, or software objects that we will help you manage. And it's a relational database that's all intended to help you capture the right data, track all of the interactions and notes and logs of emails, appointments, all your tasks and files for all of these entities. Contacts are a key part of the database, of course. And for that, we use the Outlook contact card, and we beef it up. We kind of supercharge it with 20 extra fields of data and a lot of things you can do with that. But it's also nice because it syncs with your phones. So the data is very mobile these days. So you want a central database that you can access through all your different devices, which this entire platform does offer. And it also just gives you kind of like 360-degree visibility of all of the, if you're looking at a contact, for example, you can see associated opportunities, associated companies, all the activity associated with that. And finally, the opportunity records, again, can be called whatever you want, but they will have contacts associated with them. Sometimes a company, if you're a B2B business, customer service cases, IT trouble tickets, or any number of things are available with our Enterprise Edition. So let's talk about getting data into Profit. And I'm going to move through this quickly because we're going to jump into the program here real quick. But it's got to be easy to get data into any system. If you make it hard, no one's going to do it, frankly. So we just allow you to use existing Outlook contacts. Many of you probably already put data in Outlook. So unless you mark it private, which is an Outlook function, you can basically just create a contact in the CRM by creating an Outlook contact, or perhaps you already have a bunch of them, which is cool, as many of you know. Company records, we have a patent on this. Company records are created automatically when you create a contact that goes into Profit, and it starts associating contacts with that company, which is quite cool. You can create contacts from drag and drop from an inbound email. You can create contacts from an import. We have an import utility, and I'll show you how to structure that data today. And there's more deeper training on the import utility, but I think you'll get a feel for it. You can use this utility to mass update your data different ways. We offer website form integration. So that's an easy way to create a contact. Is somebody fills out a form, first name, last name, email address, company, comments, and you can create it right in Profit in real time. It's pretty cool. We also have a complete API, an open API, and different kinds of integration packages, all of which helps you get your data into the system and also keep it updated with your other programs. So when we talk about taxonomy, it's important to start thinking about what makes a minimum record that is useful. What must you have? Well, I got to tell you, nothing bothers me more than seeing a contact with just a first name, Jane or something. So you want to start organizing this to your own needs, but these are some best practices. You always want a full name. Email address, of course, is critical. Phone number is probably the next most important thing. And then you get into some things that you should have. For example, company name, if you're a B2B business, obviously. Job title, very important. Are you dealing with the CEO, owner, a director? What's their job title or role? Mobile numbers are increasingly important with the distributed environment, kind of post-COVID, I guess you can say honestly now. Um, but everyone is, more willing and often wants to use their mobile phones. So that's a field, of course, you should capture. And a physical address is a key part of the data taxonomy, because what if you wanted to create an outbound list for calling or emailing or something that is targeting a certain region or state or even zip code range. So that's a should have. Nice to have, now you're starting to get into things like LinkedIn profile, hobbies, interests, birthday. That's where these customizable fields come into play that are very nice to have. And because again, you can use them as part of your queries and outbound activities. So very similar company record requirements. Obviously, there's some things you must have, is the company name. It's nice to get it right the first time, but remember, data cleansing and deduping, that's something we can help you with too. But you want a phone number for the company, which is usually the main line, not somebody's mobile number. Things you should have: physical address for the same reasons we just talked about, company website, just so everyone can have it handy. What industry are they in? What industry or industries do they serve? Very important for targeting, using your data to target your sales efforts by industry. What type of company are they? What I mean by that, are they a distributor, a dealer, a OEM? Are they an ongoing account? Whatever it is in your business. And those fields are all customizable in Profit, as you probably know. Nice to have is like, how big is the company? How many employees do they have? What is the revenue range? How many locations do they have? Do they have subsidiaries? This is very useful for our parent-child relationship functionality. Opportunity, very similar concept, but we're talking about a transaction business you're trying to get. What are the things you must have? And you can actually make these fields required in an opportunity. Contact, company name, and I'm getting a few questions as we go. One of them is, I'll explain a question: can I explain how to drag and drop contacts into emails? I'll show you that in a minute. But basically, the opportunity is a key part of your revenue generation. So you want a description of the opportunity. You can make any of these fields required that you want. Potential revenue, of course, is going to be what makes up your sales pipeline. Estimated close date starts helping you forecast. Probability, sales stage. By the way, these 4 fields right here, potential revenue, estimated close date, probability, and sales stage, are really the only 4 pieces of data you really need to start managing your sales pipeline effectively, and I'll get more into that. Nice to have things in the opportunity. Might be industry, of course. That's a good targeting strategy. Source of the lead, find out what's working, do more of it. That's what I always say. Maybe you want to see your sales territories, competition, who you're competing against, and so on. And actually, one other thing that's not on my list here is, it's nice to understand why you lose business. So if you go back, another nice to have would be lost to a competitor. Reasons you lost business. I mean, it's a little counterintuitive, but if you go study why you lost business, you're going to find you're going to close more new business if you address those issues. So again, we're going to be helping you clean up the data by first helping prevent duplicates from happening. And then when this occurs, when you create contacts, because you don't want duplicate contacts, you don't want duplicate companies, you don't want duplicates when you're importing data. You certainly don't want duplicates from inquiries off your web form or from any sort of integration. But one of the key things is being able to dedupe it after they get into the system, which we can show you. And another real key thing is, how to address the issue when, ABC Corp, ABC LLC, ABC Industries, and they're all the same company, people put them in differently. How do you prevent that? And then how do you clean it up? So these are some of the kind of key concepts there. And remember to inspect what you expect. If you're in a leadership role, you really need to get your mind around this. You got to set your expectations, and then you can actually see in real time whether those things are being done or not. Are the leads being managed often enough? Are people reaching out to them frequently? Or accounts, same thing. Is the data complete? You can do a quick query that shows how many fields are blank, which is useful. Because again, data is your friend, but lack of data is your enemy. So keep that in mind. How many new contacts were created? I guess it used to be that people weren't too worried about, having salespeople have goals and metrics or KPIs. I think that's changed a lot. And it's not just salespeople or customer service or whatever. It's just the basic thing in business that, there's some things that drive your business. We call them KPIs, like how many new contacts were created this week or this month, how many new accounts were created, how many new opportunities created. And if you're not doing this, I highly suggest you think about getting a framework around setting some goals or metrics in these areas. And then with the profit reports and dashboards and such, you'll be able to easily see what's going on, how well you're doing. And it's really data, but we're going to show you how you can display it and get useful information out of it. This is not intended to be a deep dive on reports, however. So let's just get into this program and start showing you some real live examples of how this all works. And by the way, a KPI, the letters KPI mean key performance indicator. It's like a goal. Like if a key goal is to create 100 new contacts a month, that's a KPI, for example. All right, and I'm gonna actually use a lot of these questions that I get because I want this to add a lot of value to your day. So let's just start from a really simple beginning, and that is I'm gonna just be an Outlook. Y'all probably know Profit's just all part of Outlook once you get it. And I'm going to show you how to create a contact from an inbound email. Real simple. I got an email here. Hey, look at that quote request for a bunch of licenses. To me, that's like, I definitely want to capture that contact. Here is exactly how you can capture that contact. Outlook has the feature to just drag and drop that down over your people folder. So what happens is Outlook has the ability to create contacts from emails, but Profit adds this. It's a duplicate checker. Remember, I've mentioned that several times. You don't want to create duplicates. So in this case, since that contact, by just scanning it without even opening it, I can see, yep, I already have them in my database. So I could just open that contact. And from there, since it's a lead, I could, with one click in the Profit ribbon, I can click create a new record. Now, we've added some new functionality on our Enterprise Edition. I can create all kinds of new records. I create a lot of opportunities, but I could create an IT ticket or a support ticket or a client services or a project record and any number of things. So we can create those opportunities right from an inbound contact or an email. One next step, you can create the opportunity. Let's say that I didn't see a match in the database, that Profit found no probable matches. Well, then you just click create new contact. Notice how it's warning me again that you might be creating a duplicate. So what'll happen is you'll have an Outlook contact created, and the first name, last name, and email address are automatically put into this new contact. But usually there's a signature line, and I'm going to show you a little trick down here. If you just highlight something, you can either copy paste it or just drag it over to that field. This is super easy. This is how you can help ensure that the company name is spelled correctly. It's right out of their signature, that you get the right phone number. Maybe there's a mobile phone number. See how I'm just dragging that stuff from the email? And that way I've created a nice complete contact. Save and close, and off to the races. And while we're here, I'll mention a couple other quick things. You can use Outlook categories. Profit lets you filter on those, like this is a prospect or what have you. You can actually add multiple categories. Maybe it's a prospect in in a certain area like IT services in this case. So you can have multiple categories of work. You can also have photos. And photos, if you don't know how to add a photo to a contact, you just click on it. Now you have to have saved the photo first. So I could add, let's see if I have, let's just see if I have Anthony in here, because maybe I've captured his photo somewhere. There's one. So I just added a photo to that. Now you can see that it's created the nice little business card for this person. Nice. And again, Profit has some functions here that allows you to do other things like create an opportunity or follow the contact, get updates when somebody updates that contact, you can get an email alert. There's other things that we can show you as well. So that's how you create a contact from an inbound email. And the really key part of this whole webinar is creation of good contact data, because one thing that occurs is the contacts flow automatically create a company record. Okay, so I'm going to go into a company database and show you that. So a company record includes multiple contacts associated with that company. But this is created automatically when you first create a contact, or if you create a contact with the company name in it, it'll add those others. So The company data is also part of the database, but I just wanted to mention it now because Profit actually creates the company record automatically if you start from a contact. Just saves data entry. So we're gonna go back to my contacts because we want to talk about capturing good contact data. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to get 20 or 30 fields of data for every contact you create, right? I mean, we talked about that. You just basically want to create at least a minimum set. So I'll just bring that slide back over for a second. And what we're going to be looking for is you want to have contacts with full name, email address, and phone number. Okay. Those are the basic things. I mean, why bother if you don't get at least that much? And we're also looking for, hopefully, company name, physical address, and so on. So when you start creating contacts by any of the means we've talked about, inbound emails, imports, ERP integration, websites, try to get at least the minimum data to create good contacts. Now, I'm in a view where I have imported data from a list. I do it quite often. We get databases, public and subscription databases, and you can capture contacts from those lists, and they come in an Excel or CSV format. I'm giving you an example here where I've imported a list, and it has a lot of good data. Like, where did the lead come from? One of our lead sources is ZoomInfo. It's a database. What industry are they in? Are they in? So here's where when I'm talking about capturing good data, like industry, many businesses actually have different messages or products or services for different industries. So you can actually target different industries. Now, I'm in Profit, but that looks like an Excel filter, doesn't it? Many of you already use this, I'm sure. But I can just go in and say, I just only want, contacts from this list that are in the construction industry. And that's going to filter that list down. Oh, that was only one of them, but maybe I want manufacturing here. And so I'm just adding filters to my big list there. That narrowed it down to 63 contacts, but maybe I want to narrow that down further by some criteria, like what state are they in? This is the beauty of having good data. If you don't have this, you're kind of out of luck. But let's just look for anybody in California that's a manufacturer. So I'm adding a second filter. Hope you're following me on that, but just go back. I'm just choosing some examples here. I filtered by industry, manufacturing, and then I filtered by, over here, I filtered by state, California. I could add another filter if I want. Maybe I want to see only those in San Diego. I think you're getting the idea. Now, what I mean by actionable insight from all of this getting good data is something like this. Well, maybe I just want to make this my call list. I'm in sales. I want to make a call. These are all profit functions. Left a voicemail, did an initial outreach or continued outreach. By the way, these are your little customizable activity entries. Your company can define whatever you want. Just makes it super easy to log a call. I mean, frankly, I'm going to pontificate on this point for a moment here because you know what? If people aren't logging their sales calls or their activities with customers somewhere, frankly, I think something's wrong because how do you even know what's been going on? And since Profit's a centralized database, most of you are with a company, it gives you visibility for anyone with permission to view that contact or company or opportunity, what's been going on. So you don't step on each other. You can all see what's going on. That's just fundamental visibility. But I'm digressing a little bit. What I'm saying here is by getting good data, I can create very targeted lists, large or small, and do things like just make outbound calls. But let's just say I wanted to broaden this out a little bit. I'll give you another example of something you can do with Profit. And we're going to get a little bit more into reports later, but frankly, I'm a geek. I just love data. So I'm going to remove this filter. All right. So now I'm back. Now I'm going to go back to just all of my contacts in California that are manufacturers that I'm trying to get. Now you can just select some of these, and there's a number of actions you can take from here. You might want to try snail mail. Not many people do it anymore. I actually go, oh, I got a letter. I open it and I look at it. Anyway, most people use the email functions. Now, Profit integrates with Mailchimp right out of the box. And we have a brand new integration with Constant Contact coming out. So you could just use those systems if you want. But Profit has a real unique thing. One of the actions you can take here is this ability to send a group email. Many of you use it, but I'll show it to you briefly anyway. This just creates a recipient list that you can send a personalized message with Outlook functions like important on it. And all I'm doing here is I'm going to put in some content. I could just type it in here, but I just digress and show you that, you know, Office 365 has templates that you can use, and you can insert content from templates if you want. So in this case, everyone on this list is going to get the same email, but it's not a blind copy, and it's very targeted because I know they're a manufacturer. I could even put in things like the, you know, the industry they're in and things like that. Pretty cool. So I click send, everyone gets a nice personalized targeted email. And how, the only reason I could do that is because I have good data. Mailchimp integration, yes. Would you mind, I got a question on how to do the Mailchimp integration. Would you mind just sending me an email? I'll get that information to you. It's not very hard. All you need is a Mailchimp account and go grab the API code. But just shoot me an email after the webinar. I'd be glad to get that off to you. Thanks for the question. So one of the things then that I might want to do is I might want to back up, and I'm going to show you an example of how you can look at things that, remember I talked about inspect what you expect, right? So I do a pretty good job with my data. I don't usually have blank fields, but here's an example. I want to find any records in this list, and you can create as many lists as you want, by the way, that have no data in them. Ooh, null, that's what it's called. Don't ask me why the developers call it that. It's empty, right? It's an empty field. You can do a search of that list to find any records that have that particular field blank. Why is that useful? Well, if you're on this webinar by now, you probably understand. But now I can go in and say, hey, we need to update these records with what type of contact are they? Or why don't they have a last name? Or why don't they have a company or something like that? Anyway. It's all cool stuff. So I can clear a filter just like Excel, just clear the filter. Let's take another example of how this can be used to help you inspect what you expect, or maybe you're just an individual contributor and you just want to know that you're doing your job well. Well, last modified date is a good one, right? If you're making outbound calls to contact, the data, this data field is automatically generated by the system. It's the last time you did something that changed the contact, added a note, added an email address, or what have you. And you can see that here's all these by date. Now I just sorted it, but I can go down to the oldest ones and say, you know what? Maybe I want to reach out to these ones that I haven't talked to since April. That might be a task that you want to do today, right? Basic blocking and tackling stuff for sales and account management and customer service. That's what we're talking about here. And I'm keeping an eye on my chat here. We're going to get into reports, yes. Now, here's a good one. Remember we talked about what a KPI was, right? One of the metrics was, you know, like maybe you want to talk about how many contacts you've created and that sort of thing. Well, here's a good way to do that. You can look at this by created date, right? So I can go in and look at contacts by created date. And you can do a filter. Oh, by the way, here's some really cool stuff here. Now we're having fun with the data that we put in here. I'll show you a little advanced stuff here. So if I click on that little funnel symbol, it's like an Excel function, and I can put in things like greater than, less than, and a date field that's older than, newer than, or between a certain date, or not between a certain date. And this is how I can inspect what I expect. How many contacts are we creating in the month? And you can do it by sales rep. That's one of the columns in here. It's called user. It's called the users here. So if I wanted to filter just by those that have my name in them, for example, this is another little filter of the data. Well, guess what? I'll just uncheck the ones I'm sharing with other people and just look at mine. I'm not even sure how many there will be, but this is just a good example of how you can use the data to make good decisions. So now I can see by last modified date, by created date. Oh man, we're getting some useful information out of this system. Holy cow. All right, one more actionable item from all of this. This is sort of just a little deeper into the CRM. Is maybe I get a response from one of my contacts. By the way, funny little thing. I've been told many, many times by people who listen to my webinars that my voice sounds like John Goodman. And a quick little story is I actually got an offer from a Hollywood producer to do voiceovers for his old movies. I declined because I have a good job, but anyway, I don't know why I said that because there's my contact. Anyway, so what you can do though is maybe this resulted in some sort of an opportunity. What are you going to do? You're going to create a new opportunity or whatever your form is called in Profit. So right from the contact that I've just been working on, I get some action from it. You know, he says, yes, I'm interested. Maybe they'd like a proposal or something. I can create an opportunity record. Now there's some new things with our system these days that you may or may not be aware of. One of them is that you can now create, your admin would have to do it, or if you're the admin, you can do this. You can create these fields as memo fields, which holds 1,000 characters instead of just, I don't know, 500 or 155, some of these little text fields. So that's a nice little function. But anyway, so that was cool. I just created an opportunity from a contact very easily. And now we're going to get a little bit into the opportunity, the taxonomy of an opportunity. Okay, so we're switch gears here a little bit. And new lead for a large contract. All of these fields are customizable by your company. And what you call the label, sales description, you can say project description or something. You can make that a text fields or a drop down. Usually the description's best as a text field. I have key info as a memo field. That's one of the options. I have many drop downs. You know, actually funny thing with our system is in a way, we kind of compete with people using Outlook and Excel. So we kind of list it as a competitor. Your sales region, however you might define those. You can capture other information, but I'm going to stop here for a second. The four things, the four pieces, if you remember nothing else from this part of the webinar, the opportunity function, please try to remember these four things. To capture what stage they're in, the probability, the estimated close date, and the potential revenue from the deal as you might estimate it. Those are the four things that when we look at reports here in a little bit, I got to be mindful of the time here, but you can tell I love what we do here, don't you? Okay, all right. So those are the four fields. And by the way, you can kind of make this form any size you want. Profit will remember the size and how you kind of laid it out. This little bar raises the bottom tabs up and down. Anyway, we've just created an opportunity and we've added some key data to it, but I'm going to add just a little bit more. Remember the should have, well, or nice to have. Where did the lead come from? You know, maybe this is maybe we're using a lead vendor. In this case, maybe it's a LinkedIn lead, but there's some of our database vendors, by the way. What type of sale is it? Some of you might want this in your thing. It's like new sale, expansion sales is kind of a different thing. A renewal for us is a different thing. So I'll call this a self-prospected sale. And other information. Now, this is where you could get carried away. Really, I said there's four pieces of data that you need to manage your pipeline. And it's true. Everything else is icing on the cake. But I'm going to share with you one thing. If you're in sales and you're not using this function, please watch this. Okay, I'm going to put a next step in. Now imagine if you and all your people always identified the next step in every opportunity that you're working on. And when you put the next step date in, it creates it, if you wish, as a reminder in Outlook to do it. And all the wonderful features of Outlook are here. You can prioritize it. You know, you can mark it % complete and all that good stuff. Basically, just you're creating a next step, and I'll show you where it ended up. Over here in Outlook, it's now right here on my Outlook task list because even though it was created in Profit, it's an Outlook task. Pretty darn cool. Now, little navigational point. People ask me, how did you get that task list over to the right of my calendar? I share a little Outlook stuff here and there. You go in here into the View ribbon, and you're changing your to-do bar or adding it to your view. And I want tasks on my to-do bar, right? Now, if I was in my email, I'll just go into my inbox here for a second. I'm digressing, but it's fun. I'm going to go into my view up here, and I'm going to say I want, on the right of this, I want my calendar. Voila. So it's just a little thing that you can do in Outlook. But where we were was we were capturing context that became an opportunity. And then we're talking about the key fields that help you drive opportunities forward. I just did a webinar. It's on our learning series. I've created a new thing on our website called the Learning Series. By the way, let me just show you that in case you haven't ever seen it. I'm going to just go to avidian.com, and we have this new thing, learning videos, and we've just launched this. So you're going to see more and more of these. And there's also webinars, the videos from all these webinars that we produce here. So this webinar that we're on right now will be in that series. But anyway, I mention that because I can't get deep into every topic on every webinar, like how to set up automation, but I'm just going to show it to you to kind of wow. I encourage you to go watch the other webinar in the learning series. Okay, let's say I get a new lead now. This is important because I have all the right data for it, but I want to make sure that I have good follow-up. I clicked the button called Sales Stage there, and it generated a series of automated things, including my initial email, which I'll send, a reminder to call that person. And the data set here is all of the follow-up touches in sales. I like to call them touches. They're just follow-up actions that can be emails, reminders, appointments, and they get a series gets generated automatically. And that is, by the way, the most recent learning video that we did. It's called Setting Up and Using Profit Sales Automation. Check it out. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're going to just save that opportunity, and we're going to go into using the opportunity manager, which it's just a list. You know, look, I'm in my inbox. These folders, by the way, you can rename these folders, right click, rename the folder. Some people call it their lead tracker. I put the little dashes in it to kind of, and I added them as favorites. All right, you can take any email, any folder and make it a favorite. I don't know if you just saw what I did, but I like profit to be right up on top because I use it so much and I want to use it a lot. And I'm going to just check my Q&A and stuff here. Okay, I'm doing pretty good on that. So opportunity management. One concept to get your mind around is you can filter, sort, slice, dice, and then save these views in different ways. Okay, like I have one called cold prospecting view. If you don't know what this is, then you're probably fairly young, but it used to be how most business was gotten. It was by cold calling. I still do that, but I have a view like that. I have closing this month. I have, opportunities in a certain area or industry. So all of these are just lists that I've created with the data. Obviously, that's the topic today. And I want to have certain fields that I'm really targeting on, like type of lead, for example. Now, because we captured it, right, on almost every single lead, I see one that's blank, bad me. I can say I want to go in and look at only those that are from the website, right? So I can work on my web leads. It might be different than a self-prospected lead or an add-on sale, different job functions. So you can clear the filter. You can also use this as a sort by estimated close date, might be a good one. Just like we did with contacts, sort by oldest modified date or filter by it. So this is a good example of showing how you can use profits data to get actionable insight, whether it's your own pipeline or funnel or it's someone else's that you manage. I can see if there's leads that have been neglected very easily here. And I might want to send a little note to that person. Hey, follow up on your own leads. It'll help you make more money, right? Watching the time here, but okay. Data taxonomy is so critical to being able to make any CRM useful. And I'm hoping you're getting that. All of these things also apply to the third type of data. And I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this whole idea. But everything I've shown you, the ability to look, oh, by the way, one of the things we haven't looked at is like activity tracking. So you can look for emails associated with a contact or a company or inside of an opportunity. Profit has all kinds of new and wonderful, powerful email tracking. If you haven't explored it fully, shout out to your account rep or whatever. Or me, I'm always available too. But look, you can set sales automation for a company. Maybe in your world, you want to be able to make sure that your touching your customers once a month. Well, that's how you can do it. You can set up a series of tasks or emails to reach out once a month to all your clients, all your accounts, what have you. But again, all of these different things you can sort and filter by, maybe I just want to look at certain types of accounts. I can add a filter. Now, the difference here is when I'm in a company list, it includes all the contacts for that company. So if I was to send out an email here, like I could do, an email blast to everybody on this company list, it's going to hit everyone at that company. But there is kind of a nice little nuance to how you can use the company to send out an email. Like, let's say you have a company with a lot of people in it. So you can actually just say, I want to send an email to everyone at that one company because I've just highlighted it. Pretty cool. Alrighty then. We better get into some reporting functionality to wrap up here. And one of the key concepts of reporting is making it easy. So first of all, you can just go in here and you can say, I want to export this view that I'm in, filtered like it is. So I can select all of them, or just here, watch what I can do. I can select any or all of these, and you have your option. I'm just using my keyboard to select, but you can then just click this Excel button. And from that, your data is what's allowing you to create a useful report. Again, the main topic. So there's an export to Excel function. You can export all rows or selected rows. And just remember that it's going to export only the columns that you put in here, which is, of course, probably what you wanted. So you now have that report in an Excel spreadsheet. You can email it, print it, whatever. So that's getting useful data out of the system very easily through the Excel output. Now, I will point out, though, that the ability to export to Excel is a permission-based function in Profit's administrator. So your administrator of Profit would have to set you to, that would allow you to export data from Excel, or maybe you're set not to allow. I can't control that, but it is one of the functions that's available in Profit. The next level of reporting, oh, by the way, just real quick, how do I add new fields? Well, you just choose columns. It's a column chooser, and you can choose any column in the entire database. Like, there's usually over 100 different fields, but you don't necessarily want them all in any particular view. Like, you can add account priority or any of these other fields through this little column chooser. But my main point is you can get this data out of Profit very easily into an Excel format. The next level up, and I do webinars and training, and we have other material, a deep dive into this, but because the topic of this webinar is to get actionable insight from your data, well, this is where we're going with that. Maybe you want to just be able to run a certain report, and somebody had asked me, can I show reports that's showing only email, reports or something, and that's exactly where you do this. You go into a report, or you create your own, and you can see that you can filter it by different types of data. In this case, I can load the entire set of criteria here. We have a lot of activities that we could do, but I could actually add into that a group email. Might be one of the things I wanted to add to this. So now it's in the list of things I'm filtering on. Maybe I wanted to add whenever an email's automatically tracked, and so on. So by doing this, I've added some stuff to this report, but I'll just show you how it looks. Now, by the way, backing up, I just hit this little button that says reports. That open this tool called Report Manager. There will be a bunch of default reports, but you may have already created your own, which you can do using the wizard report builder there. Not going to get into that today, but you basically want to set a time range by either just setting the quick choice or a date range. And then when I click view report, what you're going to see is you're going to see a report that has all of the activity that I have selected as the fields in that report, and it will be generated in a format that will allow you to see everything in that report. I just have a client logo in there for fun, but you can see all the different types of phone calls, email reports, and you can filter it by any one of those. While I'm in this, I'll show you the designer real quickly. We're going to wrap up with the dashboards and analytics, which some of you might be interested in. One of the things you can do is you can go in here and you can format this report. Clearly, you want probably your own logo in there. So I could go in here and put in a graphic. I'll just put in our little logo here. These have to be saved in advance, of course, but you can kind of see how it is. I can put my logo right there. Go here, I could change the color. Let's just change it to, why not just one of those nice blue colors, royal blue. Okay, save that. And now when I run that report, you're going to see that those changes that I made will be in effect here. Awesome. So that hopefully answers the question about what kind of some of the reports you can run. And finally, Profit has the ability, and virtually all versions of Profit have the ability to have dashboards with them. These are Power BI dashboards. It's a Microsoft product. Power BI is the reporting tool. I like to use the desktop version because it gives me the ability to edit like the field type here. Like I could change that from a bar graph vertical to a bar graph horizontal to a pie chart and back and forth. There's a little button in Profit that lets you run this, but it doesn't give you these editing capability. Anyway, you get 3 reports out of the box if you have the full sales CRM from us, and that's your activity report showing you how many activities you've created. There's a really useful one, like when we were talking about KPIs, how many contacts were created. Maybe you want to see that over time, what the trajectory is, where they're located, what their job function. And if you're using the opportunity management function of Profit, there is a pipeline view, and these are all live data feeds. So you can filter by status, stage, users, you can check and uncheck people. You can kind of just, as you see, the chart changes as you select different filters. So that's called Profit Analytics. There's a lot of options on how they're deployed. They can be deployed desktop, web. There's a version that goes right through Outlook. But when it comes to the kind of the final analysis of what this whole webinar has been about, in a lot of ways, it's this right here. I'm going to come back to this and kind of summarize here. So by capturing good data and having a little bit of discipline with your people on what you're capturing and how you're capturing it, first of all, you start getting the so what out of the data. What does this mean? Which reps are more productive? Why are they more productive? What are they doing different? Interpreting trends. Data is somewhat limited if you don't look at trends. So trends of data is really, are you creating more contacts, fewer contacts, more leads, less leads, fewer leads? Where is your business coming from geographically? What sort of lead sources? All of this sort of stuff is what I call actionable insight. And here's my final business tip for the day. First of all, find out what's not working and don't do so much of that. Whether it's some kind of initiative, lead generation, call format, but do this. Find out what is working and simply do more of it. That's my business tip for the day. I hope you all have gotten some value out of today's webinar. I certainly appreciate you attending, and I'll just keep this posted for another half a minute here, so you can feel free to reach out to me if you like, or just reply to the webinar invite you got. Anyway, take care, be safe, and have a good rest of the day.